everybody. So I finally get to do a requested video that I was supposed to do before, and then I realized I didn't do it yet, so I finally get to do it. We're gonna be customizing an ordinary baby doll that you find at the thrift store. For this one only costs $2.99, so like $3. So it's basically like a plastic doll, and we're gonna repaint it and form it into a reborn look-alike, and it's gonna be lots of fun to do. Here is an example of one that I had done already. I got this baby doll on Amazon a few years ago. I even did an unboxing, I think. And she actually had like a white body, and she just looks so much like a plastic baby doll that I had to do something to her. So I went ahead and I repainted her, and I did everything I could. So now she actually looks like a reborn look-alike, and all I did was repaint her. So you can actually get a lot done just by customizing and repainting. Because her body was mostly all soft sculpture, just the legs and the hands, I noticed that she can also suck her thumb, which I found really cute. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick her little hand in there. And her eyes are different because her eyes don't actually blink. They stay open, and I made them really glossy and like blue and everything. So I think it's really cute how she turned out. She's kind of like a baby toddler. And as you can tell, I added creases here and there. All that was done by eyeshadow contouring, which is basically old eyeshadow that I had lying around. And we painted her body to look exactly like a baby's. 2 little nipples, a belly button, things like that we will use paint for. You're actually only supposed to need white, orange, and brown, but I don't have orange, so I'm gonna have to mix red and yellow. And if you don't have brown, you could mix it. There's different color wheels online you could do to mix paint to get the color you need. So this is obviously a baby example. I also did her hair, as you can see. That takes a while too, but in the end, everything stayed, and all I used was eyeshadow, and throughout the years she came out pretty good. So I'm glad how she turned out. If you go online, you'll see that reborns are basically put together by a head and arms and legs. But silicone is also not the most affordable, and it's very difficult to come by. So we're just going to use a plastic doll. And to be honest, I can still squeeze her here. I can still squeeze her mouth and everything. And by the way, you could tell she's making noise, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. But before I do, I just wanted to go ahead and demonstrate different examples of babies and how they put them together. So this is obviously a soft sculpture and like plastic or silicone body. We are actually going to keep her body because I like the little contouring here and there, but I actually want to make her a bit bigger. So I'm just gonna pop out her arms to make her more posable like a baby, the way the baby would be lying down. I'm gonna pop her legs out and her arms, and we're gonna actually make joints for her. So the baby will be a bit better to lie down and pretend like it's sleeping, like the arm can move this way. And there are different ways of making the baby. You could make it seem as if the baby is sleeping. This baby has blink shutter eyes, so they will open and close. But if you do want your baby to look like it's sleeping, we could seal the eyes. Basically, just glue them down. Some super glue would hold, and then with paint, we cover them up. And then we can make it seem like the baby's eyes are sleeping, which does make it look more realistic. We don't actually have to remove the eyes. We just sort of like glue something over it, and it should be fine. And then there's all this stuff that we should consider, like hair and details like eyebrows or like little veins here and there. So that is going to take a while to get into. As far as the baby making noise, I thought it would be a bit more interactive if our baby doll was able to speak and make noise. When I first bought this baby doll, she did not have this white expansion pack in the back. I added that myself. And as you can see, I used super glue gun, but her back was just like an ordinary plastic baby doll. And I actually found this in another doll that I had. And I went online on Amazon and I tried finding what these things were. The Build-A-Bear used to do it where you can make your Build-A-Bear say stuff and then you embed it into the teddy bear and your teddy bear will say things. But this one was for a baby doll. And I have been having lots of fun pressing the sounds and trying to figure out how many sounds there are. I recently uploaded a quick video of this doll doing a quick preview of her saying all of them. So if you want to know what the sounds are for this baby that I put together, you can watch that video. And then I also showed in that video that she can drink and pee. And that was actually just an option that came with the baby because I really didn't notice. I was just looking for a plastic baby doll. So for this project, you don't need a baby doll that will drink and pee. And especially how I have this in the back, I don't want this to get wet either. So we are actually going to forget the whole drinking thing. And we are going to sort of leave that aside because I really don't want to get this wet or ruin it. So the whole peeing thing we're just going to avoid. And I also thought that it would be fun if you can find your own. It's actually on Amazon. There was one for like $12 or like $20, and you can choose one. I think it's like for 60 seconds. You choose what you want, and you will be able to basically get a baby to say stuff. I know it's kind of difficult to find, but it does make your baby doll extra like fancy in a way. Your baby doll does speak. Ordinary reborn dolls would not do this, but if you want to go the extra mile and choose different things your baby would say like I do, I enjoy pressing it and all that. But I actually want to hide it now because it is kind of obvious. So what I'm going to be using are, by the way, I will also show screenshots and snaps of where to buy these clips at the end of the video. You'll see them. And also at the end of the video, I will show basically what it's like to go on Amazon and choose different ones. But if you don't like those and you still want to interact with your baby, you could also find fun games for the baby, like a nursing video game where you go on like Play Store, and I just chose any random one. And that's fun because whenever you go to give your baby a bath, it's as if you're giving this little baby a bath. And when you want to feed it, you can interact with it that way. So I'll do those screenshots at the end of this video. And in the meanwhile, I will go ahead and get started on this project. So let's get to it. Things first, we will, I already cleaned off this doll, so I don't really need the tag. But what I do want to do is get the hot glue gun ready. The paint, we're not going to use it right now, nor the shadow, but what I am going to use is some fabric. By the way, when it comes to choosing fabrics, literally choose whatever you have lying around. It doesn't have to be skin color. It could be white, because we are going to paint over it anyways. You don't want it to be like blue or green or something because then painting will be difficult. You probably want to go for like a lighter color. White will work because we'll paint over that. So I'm choosing this random like felt thing that I have, and it's sort of like a beige. It actually belonged to another doll, and as you can see, I had cut it out. But I think if I go ahead and cut little bits, I will be able to use it. So yeah, I'm basically only gonna need enough for arms. For basically the shoulders, we just want the arms to be posable and the legs. This doll was actually, and I'll show you what doll that I got in the summertime, and it's basically the same deal. As you can see, I cut it open and then I stitched it back. But all you basically need is the head and the arms and the legs. This whole body could have been different. There's even like a beanie bag type of style where you could put like little beans inside it. That way it sits like a beanie bag baby. But I still want to keep the body, so I'm just gonna make arms and legs. So that's what the all soft sculpture body will look like, and you could definitely still paint this to look like my baby Charlotte doll who had nipples, belly button. You could still repaint it to make it look very realistic, but considering I want to keep the arms and legs and the body, I'm going to show you another example. This is a Zap Creation Baby Choo Choo doll, which is actually quite pricey. And from what I noticed, the arms I actually had to glue myself because they were so loose and flimsy. I actually thought they were going to rip off. And same goes for the leg. I mean, like, it's secured by like this tiny little thing, and like the whole leg is like hanging off just by a tiny little bit. So as you can see, it's not going to take much to attach the elbows, or I should say the shoulders and the hips. And then at the back here, she has this little Velcro flap because of her batteries and whatever. So since we have the little voice control from the baby thing that for this one over here, this white one, I too want to put like a little flap to cover it over, and I still wanted to make it skin color. So this baby is basically an example as to how it's not difficult at all to attach legs and arms. And it actually makes the baby doll look like she's sleeping. I think that's why Zap Creation designed the doll to be this way, because the arms just look like the baby can like move them any which way, and they look more flimsy, and actually babies do like to move their arms and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why I thought I'd show this example. Okay, so if you did order this in the mail, you will need to do one thing. You're gonna need to cut the baby open, not by a lot, but as I'm gonna explain it, this is basically how I did it. The ones they sell on Amazon, I think, are circles, but this one is obviously like a rectangle, so it really depends on the one you buy. They even have a heart, one that's a heart. I don't know how big that is, and I don't know if you want to ruin the front, but you could also cover it up later. So anyways, this one is a rectangle. I do realize that later you'll probably have to change the batteries. I noticed that these have little screws on them, and I'm sure that if I just screw it, I can take it out and replace the batteries. Or I figured, what if I need to replace the batteries and remove it? I will have to pop out the glue gun and re-put the batteries in and reinforce it with some more glue. So you need to consider that when you are putting it into your baby. But then your baby talks, and that's just like so worth it, and it's so interactive. If you do buy the ones that are like 60 seconds long, you could go on like YouTube or somewhere and find baby sound effects, and you could record it yourself. Just hold your phone up to, or the recorder, I mean, up to YouTube, and you'll be able to get the real sound effect of a baby. The way I opened it up was a knife. Because this is cheap plastic, it was actually easy to do. It really depends on the type of doll you have, but I'm pretty sure a knife, you just, first with a pencil, of course, I laid it out, and with a pencil, I carefully drew it, and then I went and started carving, almost like carving a pumpkin, but carving like plastic. And then I was left with this and that open, and now I had a flap of plastic of the body, and I started to wedge this in, and it fell in a few times. Oh, she's sad. It fell in a few times. I'm like, this isn't working. So then I had to cut it off completely. And I don't know if you could hear, but it's jiggling around in there because I didn't want to throw it away. I just tossed it into the body. And then I realized that without this little flap over here, cutting it off, it fit in excellent, and it was just like so snug, and nothing would move it. So the hot glue, I actually just did it to reinforce it, but it really felt snug and right in there. So that's how I did it. And so now we're gonna go ahead and pop the arms and legs open, because she just burped. Because I do want to turn this into a newborn reborn doll, and we're gonna need to secure shoulders. I got the glue gun warmed up, and now once I pop it up, I will show you how to do the joints. Thing about these cheap plastic dolls is that the arms and legs come out easily. I remember American Girl dolls are very difficult because there's an elastic connecting from one arm to the other. If you're good at that, I think, okay, you could do that, but I think that's kind of complicated. You do have to thread it from one arm to the other, but it's basically just swirl it off. I've had the chance before where my doll's leg fell off and I wanted to put it back on, and all I had to do was like screw it back in, but we're going to be doing it differently. So I'm going to continue taking off the limbs. If you're worried about breaking, don't worry. These are actually sort of squishy, and you kind of want to like swirl it out. Okay, so I did slice it a bit over here, but that's fine because we do hot glue it over anyways. So now this is what the skeleton of the baby is gonna look like. The eyes I actually want to shut later, but that will be when we do the face paint. So I kind of want the baby's arms to look like they're lying down. So we have to sort of position the body to look something like this. Because when babies fall asleep, they kind of look like that. And now it actually makes the baby look a bit bigger too. So I actually have clothes from like 0 to 3 months, 0 to 6 months, and the worst is when small dolls don't fit into them. So, but now she'll be able to fit. Okay, so now I'm gonna need to put my phone down for this, but I'm gonna have to secure the arms to the shoulder joints. So what I'm gonna do is cut off as much of this fabric as I can. And then I will begin securing it, and then I will stuff it. I also had some stuffing there. I don't know if I had shown it earlier, but we kind of want to stuff the joints a little bit. It really depends on the fabric you're using. If this is too thin, then you could stuff it, but if your fabric's thick, you probably won't even need to stuff it. It's depending on what fabric you found. Okay, so I'm going to cut this up and find the proper joints for the doll. Okay, so I cut some strips. I think I want the bigger pieces to be for the legs, the hip joints. So like that will be pretty well. And then that one for the arms. Okay, so first we will secure it to the body, and then we will basically do one of these where you glue it all around, and then we'll leave the arm later so we can stuff it. Okay, so I secured it around the top part, but I left a bit later at the end over here. Now we want to basically consider how far the elbow will be, but I'm still going to go ahead and stuff it. So try to remember that you just want a little bit of stuffing. I mean, like, you don't need much. It just depends on how loose you want the elbow to be. So I'm going to put a little bit. By the way, if you don't have this stuffing, you could definitely use like napkins or cotton swabs, cotton balls, paper towel, and scrunch it up. It'll basically do the same thing. Okay, so that's basically what I did, just a little bit of a shoulder. Now I'm going to glue this on to the outside. Okay, my first shoulder is done. As you can see, the baby can move it and lay down like this and like that. So that's pretty well done, I think. As you can see, it's not very difficult. You just want to like separate it from the body with some fabric. And like I said, it could be any light colored fabric because we will paint over it. So yeah, this is how the baby's arm is now. Now I got to do the other one. Okay, so I got this one going on. She can lie down any which way. And yeah, it looks better now. Okay, so now that we got the shoulders, we got to do the legs. And by the way, save a little bit because we're going to close the eyes too. So yeah, I'm going to show you how to do a leg. So as I am attaching her leg, I kind of want it to like flare out a bit like this. So I just put the fabric all around. Now I'm going to stuff it a little bit and then just like seal it down, and the leg should be good. Okay, so I got the baby's leg, and I like it way better here than before. Okay, so time to do the last leg. All right, so here's my baby. And then what I had just realized after doing the arms and legs is that she could still pee. So I'm going to run her under the sink right now, and I'm going to see if if water comes out from there. So let's try it. I don't want to get water back there, so I'm just going to like try to put it in her mouth. Let's get some more water there. Oh, she still pees. Woohoo! If your baby doll did wet, you should probably consider that you will be using a diaper. I literally ran her under the faucet and I got her wet, but that's fine. But if you don't want to ruin her, especially how we're doing a repaint, you probably don't want to keep getting her wet. It really depends on how you feed her with a bottle. But like I said, I want her to be sleeping. So even though she could still pee, I kind of still want my baby to be sleeping. And if your baby's sleeping, then she doesn't eat or drink. Of course, she's still asleep. So now let me go ahead and seal off the eyes. I am just basically going to do a small little bit of this and crease it from there to there. Try not to get too much glue in the actual eye where the eyelashes are. Maybe just like around it. Because then we could just peel it off if you don't like it later and you change your mind. So yeah, I like how the body is, but now I want her to sleep, so I'm gonna do that. Anyway, I'm just going over every little crease and little area so that I haven't missed any glue, because this will be the last time we'll be gluing. Okay, for the eyes, I went ahead and I cut out these like oval shaped egg type of shape out of this little like rectangle that I have there. So I kind of want them to look the same. So instead of having this one, I will go ahead and cut it out into this shape, so then I could glue it to the eye. Lastly, if your reborn doll doesn't have this expansion pack baby noise thing, you are basically finished with the joints. But because I just finished the eyes and the arms and the legs, now I want to go ahead and cover this. So I'm going to see what I have left over in this little fabric bit, and then I'm just going to glue it over. Later, as I go ahead and change the batteries, I'm going to consider removing the glue and then flapping it back, because sometimes glue would be able to stick and unstick, and that would just be to cover up the battery. Okay, so I decided to cover it. Later, if I want to change the batteries, I will just unstick the glue gun and do the process where I change the batteries. So I'll be fine with just covering it up, and then we can get started on the paint. Okay, all done with the glue. We got the eyes, shoulders, legs, expansion pack, battery, sound maker. Now I want to do a layer of paint. So let's clear this up and do a layer of paint. Mixing the paints together, I added some yellow, a little bit of red, or else it's too vibrant. And then, as you probably noticed, I cut open the paint bottles for acrylic paint because there's always still a lot of paint down there. So it's something you could consider. Now I'm just going to mix it up, add some brown to it too. So I'm not adding too much brown because I kind of still want her to be like a tan Caucasian color. But if you want your baby to be brown, you'll add more than I did. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and do a layer. I don't really mind getting this dirty because I'll just wipe it later. But if you don't, you'll probably want to put newspapers underneath. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and do a layer now. Okay, so front and back is basically this color. This is the color I like so far. I'm going to do another layer tomorrow, so I'm going to remember how much of the orange, white, and black I use. I mean, not black, brown. And so, yeah, I'm going to actually let this dry overnight. You really don't have to let it dry overnight. It could take a few hours. But, yeah, I just wanted to get, like, a really solid color. And tomorrow I'll do another layer or two. And then we can get started with the eyeshadow. And if you don't have eyeshadows, you could use pencil crayons or even like chalks and things like that. If you don't have that either, you could just use paint. So yeah, this is basically it for now. And I'll let you know what it looks like once it's dry in the morning. Hey everybody, so my first layer dried. And from what I can tell, I want to fix up some of the little parts, like the joints, for example. I got the glue gun warmed up, and I'm gonna go ahead and crease certain areas. Like over here, I can glue it, or if I want to readjust it, I can peel it off and cut some areas out. But other than that, that's basically how you glued it. But other than that, I think that it would still look fine, even with the joints like this. So some areas I would still need to paint, like over here. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go ahead and crease the certain edges with the hot glue. Maybe trim some of the pieces that I wanted to stick, or re-glue it like over here. So this is a great time to do that before you do the other layers of paint. So I'm just going to grab a glue gun and fix up some little corners and make sure the baby is posable. I also considered when I was buying glue sticks that maybe I'm going to need some super glue. So what I'm going to do is reattach it with glue gun and then go over it in super glue. And that will just help you feel reassured that the creases will stay even if you move them later. So when gluing the joints, just consider that you want to double secure it. So like I said, glue gun and some super glue. Okay, so I went over in hot glue, but now I'm gonna go over in super glue. So I'm basically just gonna take one of these little ones, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply it along all the creases, like here, there, here, basically any fabric that will touch the part of the doll, and that can include the eyes too. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that for all the parts. Even if the glue starts to drip a bit, that's okay because we're gonna cover it with another layer of paint anyways. Actually, I'm doing another 2 layers, but yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and secure everywhere with the super glue. Everybody, to make this reborn a bit more realistic, we're gonna have to use actual baby things. So after just securing some glue, I only used 2, by the way. I barely even needed the third one. I realized that the mouthpiece has to be bigger, so we're gonna need to be able to fit this type of binky in the baby's mouth, and also this type of bottle tip nipple thing so that it could drink. I'm gonna go ahead and use a knife and slit the mouth from here to here. That way, when we squeeze it like that, the pacifier can fit in there. You do need to be careful when you do this because you are using a knife and you don't want to cut yourself, but you basically don't need to like make a big hole. You just want to make an opening. So slit it. I'm using this ordinary kitchen knife, but if you have an X-Acto knife, you could use that too. I just feel that this knife is pointy and easier for me. And the whole idea is to make it big enough so it can fit this and that. So I'm gonna go ahead and try my best to open it up, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so just by making a slit there and there, I got the baby's mouth to open. Now I need to make it look more like a mouth. So I'm gonna carefully carve a lip opening from there to there. That way when we go like this, the baby's thing can fit in the mouth well. Okay, so I did one crease of the mouth. Now I'm gonna do this side. So it kind of looks like that. I'm basically just removing this inside part. And I'm actually using scissors too to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna see if this is big enough to put the baby's pacifier in. Okay, so it does seem big enough. As you can see, I just pinched the cheeks and I placed it in, and it's perfect size. So now I'm going to go ahead and try the bottle. This actually has liquid in it, so I'm going to try one without liquid. And this one also works. So it'll definitely go in and out, so that's great. And by the way, don't forget to put super glue on the eyes. But other than that, the mouth and the body is fine now. And since we did all the adjusting and the gluing, we can go ahead and add 2 thick coats of paint. I know it seems like it's double the work, but you're really going to appreciate 2 thick coats later, because that way everything is hardened and really well. Okay, so yeah, now we got the mouth open, so that's great. So yeah, now let's get painting. Okay, letting this dry for second layer. Okay, now I'm going to make a third layer of paint. This paint is going to be the base color before you start shadowing in. So I'm going to make it more of like a pink color considering I got all the dark colors already on the baby. So I'm going to go ahead and mix some paint. Okay, time for the last layer. Right, so this is what the color will look like. I'm going to leave some paint because later if I want to touch up certain areas, for example the thumb on the hand, the fingers and the toes, I will add some super glue to it, and that means I'm gonna have to save some paint because once it's all dry I want to go over certain areas and double check that paint won't chip, because the feet and the hands and the nose and the back of the head sometimes scratch off and I don't want it to scratch. So I'm going to use super glue to hold that in. So for now, I'm just going to let this dry. Okay, everybody, so far this is the reborn that we're going to be working with. As you can see, we opened up the mouth so we can fit like a bottle in there and a pacifier and all that. And as for the color, I really like how it came out. After 3 layers of toning the doll's skin, I realized that it looks good this way. Most of it is dry, but some of it I went over a little bit. Like let's say right now it's lying down, and as I flip it, there's going to be like a bit paint missing on the back of the head. That is when I use the paint. But you really need to consider that you want extra paint just in case something happens to your baby. You don't want it to get like dirty or smudgy, or even if you accidentally get like a mark on the doll and you don't want it to get ruined, you always want a bit of extra skin color in handy. So I like to keep it in like little containers like this. Paint will dry out if it's not in a sealed tight container. You could just use the same container the paint came with, but I'm gonna keep most of this paint, even if it's just like a drop. I basically go like this and wipe it into the bottle because I know later I'm gonna need some paint. But for now, I am still waiting for her to dry. So basically all we got to do is contour it and blush it. But I have here a blow dryer, and I'm gonna see if I can speed up the process a bit because it's been 2 days now and I really want my baby. But other than that, yeah, so far everything is coming out great. And then we'll also turn the baby around and see what it's like on the other side. Okay, everybody, the blow dryer really speeds up the process. If you don't have a blow dryer and you want it to go quicker, you could put the doll by a window, or like even leave it outside in like a bag or something. That way it goes quicker, but it really depends on how long you want to do the baby. So now that I went ahead and dried it, I'm gonna go online and I'm gonna start choosing different babies that I want it to sort of look like. I want the eyes to be shut and the mouth to be open because I still want to feed her a bottle even if she's sleeping. So I thought something like this, and you're probably wondering, how can a doll like this actually look like a baby? It all depends on how you use shadows, and you could use pastels or chalk, even like paint, makeup, whatever you think is better. I'm basically just using eyeshadow makeup, and I'm going to use some blush and all that. And I'll show you how to do it. You basically have to just do it on the creases of the body. So whenever there's like a little crease, for example, especially here on the fingers or near the belly button, anytime you see a wrinkle in the baby, you go ahead and contour with blush and all that. So here it shows that the mouth is a bit pink, and the nose and the eyes are caved in and they're more pink. So we're going to do it like that. It's basically like a makeup project where you get to put makeup on the baby to make it look like a baby. But anywhere where there's a line, you add some red, and that should be kind of simple, like red, pink, and you go like that. And I'm going to show you how to do that too. So there's that. And then, like I said, you can go ahead and choose what kind of baby you want to make it look like. But generally, this is how reborn babies are made. So I'm going to go ahead and give you an example as to how they're just like baby dolls to real babies and how they look the same. As you can see, reborns come the same way baby dolls do. A head, arms, legs, and a body. Sometimes the body is all cloth, but ours was actually not all cloth. And so let me go ahead and find some more. Basically like this, as you can see here, the baby's eyes are shut, and the baby also has hair that we will also add to the baby. And I'm gonna go ahead and you could use markers, by the way, I forgot to mention. You could use markers. I done that before on a baby doll. And it's basically assembling a doll. And now that we've assembled it, like what we did already, we are gonna go ahead and just pretty much color it all up. And there are ways of painting the baby. You could go online and watch videos on how other people do it, but it's basically an art project. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my makeups and my markers, and I'm gonna try my best to make this baby look as realistic as it can be, and then I'll show you what it's like in the process. So far, I'm going to start off with the creases. And this is just old makeup I'm using. What I'm going to do is just grab a brush. And the first thing I want to do is start creasing all the lines. Anytime I see a wrinkle or a line, I'm going to go ahead and choose like a rosy kind of color. And I'm just going to go and crease over it like that. And it's very simple. I just go over and over and over every single wrinkle. So that shouldn't be too difficult. And I can mix it definitely like an orange brown color. I kind of want all these colors here to be noticed in every wrinkle. So I'll show you what that's like once I've done the majority of the body. But yeah, it's going to look really, really cute that way. So I'm first starting off with like a maroon color because later I want to go over and blush it all together. And I started from the legs and now I'm working towards the hands. And I'm going to make sure this is like a purpley red color. And yeah, and then we can blend it all together. I'm working my way through the back and I'm leaving the expansion pack thing that we added. It's really up to you if you wanted to add the baby to make noise. You could get it on Amazon for like $10-$20. It really depends on which one you choose, and that way the baby makes noise. So I'm just gonna start creasing all around the torso, the arms, and then eventually work my way to the legs and the face. Little hands is always like the best part to do because they ended up looking so real with the little nails and everything. Okay, so I did the body, the darker features, and now I'm going to focus on the head. And then once I do the head with the same idea where there's creases, and we're obviously going to have to do the eyes. I'm going to show you how to do that. We can still go ahead and make sure like there's little lips and everything, and that the ears are all done. The back of the head, we would only sort of crease it near the forehead. So once we do the head, I'll show you what that's like. But and then once we're done with the darker creases, we will go over with blush and sort of smudge it together, and it'll look a bit more contoured all together. So as far as the eyes, keep in mind that the eyes are actually two. You want an upper eyelid and a lower eyelid. So for that, I'm going to be using one of these, and I'm going to have to clean it, make sure there's nothing on this brush, but I'm going to go ahead and just choose some colors here. I'm going to choose like some browns and some dark reds, and I'm going to do a bottom eyelid, and then I'm going to do an upper eyelid, and then I'll show you what it's like. I'm going to use a pencil crayon. You could use anything that you really have, but I noticed this will be easier for me. So I'm going to go ahead and make it seem that the eyelid is shut. So I'm going to darken the bottom lid and then add some pink around it over. So if we're just going to be contouring now, once I've drawn the eyelid that's shut, I'm going to want to make it darker. So I'm going to go back with this brush and choose a darker color and just make it look like the eyelid is shut. Some babies have eyebrows, but some don't. So I'm basically gonna decide on if I want it to be a brunette baby. Brunette babies generally have some eyebrows, but the blonde ones don't. But if I do want to do eyebrows, it's gonna be obviously with a pencil because it's a very light color, and I'm gonna choose an ordinary color pencil, not like a brown one or anything. And so now that we made the bottom eyelid, later we will go over in pink. So that is just contouring the darker color of the eyelid. Now I'm going to go around the mouth, the nose, ears, and the forehead crease. Okay, so the cheeks are going to be very rosy too. So even though there's no bumps and things on the cheeks, I still want to add a little bit of blush because then it makes the baby look a bit more healthy and that they have like rosy little cheeks. So I'm just going to go like this with a little brush. And I did that on the ears also. So the only thing left now is the forehead, but babies are generally bald, so I'm not going to do it too dark. It's mainly just to separate the forehead with the hair. So I just go up and down like that, all along the crown of the head and behind the ears. Okay, let's take a look at what I got so far. I got creases and contouring all over the body and all along the back side. Left the top because we are going to be adding hair later. And it's a sleeping baby, so we need to give it a bit more, like not really eyelashes, but just to make it look like its eyes are really shut. And we're gonna add some little eyebrows. So for that, I'm gonna grab a pencil, and then I can also add this blush and seal the color all together. So what I'm gonna do is with a pencil, I'm gonna start outlining little places I want it to be dark. So for example, the eyes and a little bit of eyelashes. For there to be a little bit of eyelashes, I'm just gonna add a little bit of a line near the end because that'll make it look like eyelids. Okay, so the eyelids have been done. Now to do the eyebrows, this is what you're gonna do. I practiced it on American Girl dolls before. Basically, so you choose the center where the nose is and do a little line like that, and same with the other eye, like that. Now you just do lines after lines headed towards the direction where the eyebrow will end. So kind of like something like this. And the eyebrows, I should say, get smaller every time you stroke them to the other side. So they're going to be very small. And then continue the same on the other side. Okay, now that we've outlined it, we're going to want to outline the hair. Some dolls already come with creases in the hair, in the head. So for that, since this doll has it, I'm just going to go over with a pencil and fill in those little creases because the baby dolls already have those lines in the head. And I'm going to do that to the whole scalp. Okay, so with a pencil, I went over all the little lines in the back of the head, and that will be the starting line of the hair. And before we blush everything together, we must actually consider what color we want the hair. So I'm going to choose like a brunette baby. That means I'm going to choose like browns and all that sort of stuff for the crown of the head. I think I'm just going to use some of the eyeshadows because I could already tell like some are darker. And then once I've shaded in all the brown, I probably want to go over the eyebrows a little bit, very thin, with the same color as the hair. So the eyes match the hair. And so I'm going to go ahead and choose like a brown color now and do that to the scalp. Okay, so I added contour to the scalp, but now I want it to be brunette. And before I do that, I'm going to go over the eyebrows with a little bit of dark, just to match the color. I want my baby to be a brunette, which means I'm going to combine two markers. I'm going to combine a brown and a black. It doesn't really matter which markers you use, but if it is washable, it will leave smudges, so keep that in mind. If it's permanent, it won't smudge. Let it dry for a few seconds and it'll be fine. But keep in mind how dark the color is too. So you don't want to be like scratching the doll's head in black and then you realize it didn't come out too good and you can't fix it. So unless you have that paint, you repaint the whole head. But yeah, be very careful with what color you choose for the baby's head. I'm going to play it safe and just use these two pencil crayons. I'm going to combine brown with black and that should give me a good detail. So yeah. So I started off with the black and I scratched in some black and now I'm just going to go in with some brown and color it all in together. Okay, so this is what I want the hair to look like. Very thin, very simple. So now one final step and we will be all done. We just have to go ahead and blend this all together. You could do a bit extra where you add some pinks. That's probably a good idea if you really want to take like extra care, but I think the contouring already did a lot. So now what I'm going to do is just double check everywhere. Like let's say over here the lips, I want the lips to be a bit more, so I'm going to go back and do one of these. Take a quick look at your baby doll because this is going to be the final step before we blend it all together. And the cheeks, things like that. And make sure you didn't lose it and miss any spots like toes and things. Then I will go ahead and grab some blush. It could still be eyeshadow, but I think the blush will be good. And I'm going to go ahead and mix it together and just rub it all around. You could use a brush. I'm just using the sponge. But other than that, we will be finished. So I'm going to double check if I missed any spots. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add these and just rub it all together and make sure everything is nice and coated sacrifice one of my brushes. But I know I can blend it all together very nicely. Once we've done that, we're going to use the blow dryer to brush off any excess eyeshadows, or you could go like one of these and blow it with your mouth and see if all the excess shadow gets off your fingers and things like that, because you kind of don't want it to stick to the clothes. So we're just going to brush it off one more time. Okay, so with a blow dryer now, I'm just going to blow off any excess shadow and all that. Now let's take a look at how the baby reborn looks like up close. Okay, so here is our baby, and as you can see, the legs are now posable. Everything has been expanded. We can definitely move the shoulders unlike before, and yeah, the baby not only moves but can speak, so that is also very, very helpful. And the eyes are shut because they were open before, and we wanted it to be a sleeping baby. And the mouth is now open too, so we could definitely. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take a picture of that. And we can put a bottle in her mouth and also a pacifier. And let's get her dressed now so we see what she's like as with a diaper and everything. Put a diaper on her. Okay, so this is her with the diaper. This is actually just 0 to 3 months, like a newborn diaper. It's actually baby size. I bought it at the pharmacy like last year for my dolls, so that's good. And now I'm gonna go ahead and put the pacifier in her mouth. Great for feeding. We'll get around to doing baby outfits and all that, but for now I'm just gonna add it this little onesie. Okay, everybody, this is the baby that we worked on really hard. We basically turned a cheap baby doll that you find at the thrift store for $3, maybe $5, depends which ones you find. And then we went ahead and customized it entirely into a newborn reborn. This is obviously not a silicone one because silicone reborns are like impossible to come by, and most of the time they don't even sell them. So might as well take matters into your own hands and make your own. So I actually really love my baby, and I'm really glad I did it because the doll that I had before was kind of just boring and all that. And it's so much more fun now that I get to play with her. So yeah, I hope you also enjoyed your baby, considering this DIY tutorial was pretty much under $10. So it's not like you sacrificed much. The only supplies we really needed was some craft paint, some glue. We used glue gun and a bit of super glue. A bit of fabric, but that's literally a scraps of fabric that you will paint over anyway, so it wasn't like we really had to go looking for it or buy it. It's whatever you had lying around. And then we did certain things like cut the mouth open so we get the bottle. This is optional if you wanted to get that additionally. And when the baby makes noise in the back, that was also an add-on you could add to your baby, and I will show the screenshots as to where to get them on Amazon. So yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Me and my baby, I'll see you next time. Bye.